is Nicole Kyle. I'm an analyst from CMP, which is the Customer Contact Research Company. I'm also the MD and co-founder of our research and advisory group. So I'll be your analyst voice and facilitator today. I'll be bringing some great data to bear to facilitate our conversation. So one of the things that we do here at CMP is we really want to help executives like yourselves benchmark your upcoming investment priorities. So to kind of show you the lay of the land and what you and your peers told us in our annual executive priorities initiative is a nice slide here that really just summarizes, the headline for CX strategy in the next 2 years is really more self-serve and more AI tools. So what you're looking at here to get into the data a little bit is a graphic showing you what your peers are saying is important to their organizations in the next 2 years. That's the x-axis. And then what your peers are saying across those same 20 initiatives or so, what's harder and what's easier to get right as a function, as a CX team, as a customer contact team. So that kind of combination of importance and difficulty yields for us this nice urgency color coding I have here. So the initiatives highlighted in yellow are what we would call high urgency priorities for your peers, for fellow CX and customer contact executives. The gray zone is like middle urgency, and the red zone is lower urgency. So kind of break that up a little bit, some highlights from this analysis. So in the yellow zone, the high urgency zone, kind of immediately, the initiative that is most important and relatively most difficult is improving customer analytics and insights. Customer analytics and insights is the top priority for organizations in the next 2 years. Now, what's underpinning that are really related initiatives in this yellow zone. We have improving generative AI capability, increasing customer adoption of self-service, improving agentic AI, reducing costs, improving knowledge management, and managing the change of an AI-augmented workforce. I'm going to come back to this one because it's really interesting. But just for a moment to kind of double click on the relationship between agentic AI, generative AI, and self-service and customer analytics. We hear consistently that one of the primary ways to not only meet the customer where they are, but to reduce costs is, of course, increasing customer adoption of self-service. How do we increase the likelihood that a customer seeks automated and self-service channels? We make it a better journey. So that's where the better insights into the customer journey, customer analytics and insights using AI to analyze customer data, customer journey data, and so forth. That's where these things are kind of all related. The cost pressure, I think, is quite obvious. Most executives tell us they're under more cost pressure this year relative to the same time last year. I'll just call out this improving knowledge management piece for a moment. We know that knowledge management is obviously the key input to making AI tools work. And we've been hearing even qualitatively that knowledge piece is a big pain point, and it can be where tech investments, AI investments break down. So knowledge management was actually more on the cusp between middle and high urgency last year. And now, we've seen it kind of just eke over into that yellow zone, which wasn't surprising based on what we heard. The last thing I'll call out in this particular area is that point on managing the change of an AI augmented workforce. If we just look at difficulty in isolation, just the y-axis, managing change of an AI-augmented workforce is the highest difficulty of all of these 20 initiatives. And I think what that really signals is there's a real acknowledgement from executives like yourselves that even the best AI tools that on paper will make a customer contact frontline rep's job easier or workload more manageable, it's still introducing complexity. It's introducing a little fear. It's introducing uncertainty. There's variation in our frontline around how well positioned people are to use these different tools. So there's a real acknowledgement that there's a people consideration to our AI investments as well. And there is a workforce consideration. So I'm going to just pause there for a moment. I'll quickly direct your attention to the red zone here. Hiring into the front line has been low urgency for, I think this is the second year in a row. Replacing CCaaS, some of these other things here in the middle zone, reducing employee attrition, upgrading QA. I'm going to want to get your thoughts on this in a moment. But before we open it up to discussion, I'd just like to kind of double click into the question of tech investments. We hear from executives consistently that they want to benchmark their own planned tech investments against their peers. So when we look at kind of the tech roadmap for the new CX function, there are 3 tech categories that emerge as the place where the largest segment of leaders are making investments in the next 2 years and making the most investment. The first tech category, a majority of executives, 51%, are investing in real-time agent assist / co-pilot tools for their front line in the next 2 years. I think that speaks really nicely to the managing the change in AI augmented workforce piece. How do you, what is an AI augmentation for the workforce? Real-time assist / co-pilot is a great example of that. How do you prepare your frontline for a more complex workload as simpler contacts are automated and fully automated? Well, you're not going to hire a more expensive skill profile, but you can invest in an agent assist tool. We have chatbots / virtual messaging agents as the second most cited tech category. And then lastly, customer analytics and insights tools is the third most cited tech category. So, we have a bunch of other tech categories on that y-axis. Knowledge management close fourth, dropping down to about 40%, citing automated QA/QM. That was a little bit higher last year. I think we've kind of seen that as one of the first places that people invested, or they've already made investments. So maybe kind of just declining a little bit, looking ahead for the next 2 years. So I'm going to open it up to discussion in a moment. I do see a question in the chat. So while you're all thinking about either your thoughts on this or questions you have for me or questions for each other, I just want to shout out to Jason in the chat. So Jason said, or Jason, excuse me, Justin, I can't read. Last meeting of the day. Based on what you see in the data / feedback, do you think the prioritization in Copilot versus agentic AI is because of hallucination concerns and the maturity of AI today? We're going to talk about agentic AI specifically in the next section, so I might hold my feedback there. What I will say is the prioritization of Copilot really does speak to executives looking for a solution to this challenge of my frontline workforce is going to be handling more complex stuff. How do I equip them to handle those contacts, but also handle those contacts quickly? So agent assist / co-pilot tools. I always hesitate a little bit with the word co-pilot because I know co-pilot can mean something specific if you're a Microsoft customer. But when I say agent assist / co-pilot, I'm talking about real-time guidance, suggestions being fed to the rep by an agent assist tool while they're on the phone or while they're in a chat, or suggested email responses if they're working in the email channel. My next section is a pivot from tech investment priorities into that agentic question that one of us had raised in the chat. So there is this larger, just industry-wide progression and evolution from RPA and automation and traditional automation to using generative and autonomous tools within our CX tech stack. What I'm going to bring up here is, I know the chart looks a little busy, but I promise it's interesting. So I'll kind of talk you through it. What you're seeing here is a snapshot, a double click into, among your peers, where is there the most appetite for enabling agentic capability specifically? Agentic AI capability being autonomous, AI that can make decisions without prompting. I have a fairly similar list of, almost exactly, similar, the same list of technology categories from the prior slide on my y-axis here. And in the yellow, that's the percentage of your peers who are currently open to enabling agentic capabilities within that tool type or within that tech category. In the lightest gray, they are not open to enabling agentic, and that's not changing anytime soon. And then in the kind of medium gray, executives are not currently open to enabling agentic AI, but might look at it next year. So the kind of highlights here are voice, assist, and chat are the 3 tech categories where the largest percentage of your peers of executives are open to enabling agentic capability. If we think about that, I think that's for a few reasons. Voice and chat obviously being two of the most popular channels for our customers. I think there's a real acknowledgement that, and I'll talk more about this in a bit, that customers want to save time in an interaction, and there's a sophistication in the marketplace as well, for agentic capabilities in those categories. The second most kind of tied with chat area where there's a large openness to enabling agentic capability is around assist. And that marries back to the question that Justin asked earlier, assist being a category where there's a huge appetite to invest just writ large in whatever kind of assist capability, and also a real openness for agentic capabilities there, because it all goes back to a good agentic tool can make decisions without prompting. It's going to help your rep move faster through a contact, handle more contacts, and thus be more efficient and deal with those complex tasks more efficiently. The other thing I'll just call out here is if we kind of take this from the flip side and we look at the area where there's, the least openness to enabling agentic capability anytime soon, equipment and telephony, kind of obviously, because there's not really an application there. But then following there, it's a CRM CDP. And I think that's, we see that being because there's obviously your customer data in a CRM, there's such a wealth of, it's like the data protection kind of concern and security concern and fraud concern there. Having an agentic tool within a CRM, it's still 57% are open. So it's not like there's no openness by any means. It's just there's, 11% being most skeptical, 41% saying not this year, next year, kind of worth noting there. So I'm going to skip ahead just to round out this section here. I wanted to talk quickly about what consumers want in interactions. And we break this up into self-service, autonomous experiences versus live experiences. And this slide is showing what customers want in a self-service automated experience, whether it's an agentic AI-enabled experience, a generative AI-enabled experience, any AI-enabled experience. Or self-serve experience. Personalization is far and away the biggest driver. Personalization is defined as customers' ability to choose how they are served. So they can go maybe between channels. They are not forced into a specific channel. They can choose how they are served. And the company's consistent recognition of the customer, meaning, of course, they're not having to re-input data every time they interact with an AI-enabled virtual agent, for example. Ease is a close second, followed by speed. And ease and speed, as we know, kind of overlap a little bit, but personalization is really what you're optimizing for in a customer-facing self-service experience. And just to round out this section, we did a similar analysis for live experiences. So when a customer either calls on the phone and wants to talk to a human agent, or a customer wants to speak with a human agent over chat or email or text with a human agent on the other end, in live experiences, customers want speed. They want fast live service. And that's also a far and away gap, right? Speed being 3.x, having a 3.8x impact on customer satisfaction in a live agent experience, followed by ease at 2.6 and empathy at 2.5. It's really funny because we'll always, you hear the conventional wisdom being, oh, it's empathy, but it's actually speed. And, it's not issue resolution either, because that's just an acknowledgement that, you can't always resolve an issue. It might be against policy. They might have called for something that doesn't have a resolution. So yeah, speed is what we're optimizing for. Executives are really having to now truly split performance by live interactions and automated and self-service interactions. And it's crazy to say and think that wasn't always the case, but trust me, as the person who's surveying and collecting benchmarking data, it's maybe only a third of teams at best who can tell you what their self-service resolution rate was versus their live resolution rate. Like, everybody has the overall, but breaking it out into the component parts for so many years was so hard, but also not super necessary because the mix of channels and the contact volume skewed so heavily towards live. So that party's over. And we really are having to now, and the tools are now more able to provide us with that split. which is a really long way of me saying, like your point on handle time, the benchmark is absolutely changing on for live interactions. The goal is not necessarily driving handle time down from what it was before you invested in automation, but it's being at benchmark or slightly below relative to peers who have a similar level of automation. So we're just having to be more sophisticated in our benchmarking and be able to tell that story to our executives, which goes back to, is everyone measuring everything? Everyone's gathering as much data as they can. But like, I really look at that slide I showed you as, what are the top line metrics that executives are prioritizing communicating to their bosses around, like, this is how we're keeping our customers loyal. It's CSAT, it's self-service resolution rate, which, we're finally breaking out, and first contact resolution.